Mock, yeah, in, yeah, bird, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, full on quarantine edition, the podcast where Matt and Todd watch a movie from the Netflix Top 100 list, and then we talk about it and share our lives and our feelings and share our souls with you, the listeners, and hopefully you like it. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome to another quarantine edition of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies. We have theaters that are open now, and Todd and I are uh, weighing our feelings on when we think we might go to them, but uh, not yet, not yet,
Yeah.
but maybe soon. So,
Yeah, I have not read anything about opening weekend for these things causing an outbreak. Now, I haven't specifically looked for any of that, but typically that stuff would just pop up in my newsfeed because Facebook and Google and the world knows that I love movies and I love movie theaters, so I get all the news no matter what.
and you
Because
love COVID.
I love COVID because
Yeah.
everything's listening to me at all times. My phone, my TV, everything's listening to me.
Yes.
So I didn't see anything about cases rising or anything or people reporting anything or anything like that. But not that
Well,
I'm saying, hey, let's go to the movies. But I was definitely waiting for the first full-on open weekend to see what was going to happen.
so I think we have to wait like 2 weeks to see what the ramifications are, because that's
Oh
the
yeah, that's
incubation
fair.
period. So if we don't hear anything after 2 weeks, I think we may be clear for takeoff. But
Yeah, that's a good point. I did not think about that.
but we're
Shows
gonna
how much I know how much COVID works.
yeah, we're gonna follow the science, Todd. Follow the
Yeah,
science.
that's what you got to do.
That is.
We're going to keep our ears to the ground.
Yes. Well,
So,
anyway, we're reviewing a movie here, and that movie is called The Squid and the Whale. You may not have heard
yes,
of this movie. I hadn't heard of this movie before,
I
uh,
certainly had not heard this movie at all.
but it has some fairly famous people in it. The most famous being Jeff Daniels. He's one of the main stars, The Squid and the Whale,
Yes,
from 2005. Um,
correct. 2005.
but you've got a couple other people. Jesse Eisenberg plays a teenager in this, and William Baldwin plays a tennis coach.
Yes, Ivan,
Ivan, the
Miss,
tennis coach,
Mr. Bro is what
and
I
Anna
called him.
Paquin is also in it.
Uh, I believe it's called Anna Paquin, but I could be wrong.
Paquin.
That's always what I've gone for,
Yeah.
what I've heard.
When I look
And
at it, how it's spelled, I think you're right. I don't know where I got Penguin from, but
for a second, I thought you said penguin, and I was like, what an interesting interpretation of this thing.
Anna
uh,
Paquin.
yeah.
Good.
Also
Yeah.
starring Laura Linney, who's famous within her own right.
Oh yeah. Not in my world, but I think she's in the Ozark.
Yeah, she's been in a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, she's certainly a step down from Jeff Daniels, who's
Yes, I
very
agree.
famous. Very
True.
well. Anyway, so what's this movie about? Well, the Squid and the Whale here is about a family that breaks apart due to divorce, and mainly focus on these two boys. One of them a teenager, one of them I don't know, maybe middle school age ish,
Yeah, I
maybe
think he's in middle school.
something like that.
Although at some point they are walking to school together at some point, so maybe I don't know. It wasn't clear, so
It wasn't clear,
let's just attribute that to this movie. It's not clear about this stuff.
right? So, so the movie's really about this divorce that's happening and how the parents are dealing with it, but more how the boys are dealing with it. They both have their kind of weird behaviors they engage in that are not normal, so to speak. And yeah, that's what the movie's about, is like them trying to come to terms with their parents' divorce and how that all flows together. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not really much more to the plot of the movie. It's really about how they do that. Some other people come in. But
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's about how every person in this family deals with the divorce.
right.
Is the sum of this movie. Did you catch my musical tie-in at the beginning of our podcast?
Um, I heard you say Mockingbird. I don't know how that ties into this. Tell me.
Uh, that was the rendition of Mockingbird in Dumb and Dumber, and Jeff
Uh,
Daniels was, of course, in Dumb and Dumber.
right. Right on.
Yeah,
Well, good tie-in. I missed it, but I do remember that being part of that movie and him being in that movie. So
that's all I can hope for.
that's all you can hope. So it's that time, Todd. What did you think of this movie, The Squid and the Whale?
Well, everyone just buckle up here because I severely disliked this movie. It is. I don't like to use this word just as like without that much accompanying it, but I don't know if there. I'll try to present some specifics here, but this movie's just real dumb, like real dumb, and I am frustrated with our Netflix top 100 list or whatever, or 100 movies that you should watch on Netflix that this was recommended, which is not the first time I've been upset with this list, but the only good thing about this movie is it's only an hour and a half. So it's like you're not in it for the long haul. Um, I mean, I guess you could talk about how the actors did a fine job. I mean, like, I don't have any kind of negative thoughts towards the acting. It's more just the whole plot and story of this movie. You got a family that, is kind of falling apart because of divorce, and it's how everyone handles the divorce. And it's just, there is, there are things that happen in this movie that have no resolution. There's almost no character development in this movie. When you're nearing the end of the movie, no one has grown. Like, no one's wiser or better, or it's just there. Like, the story is just kind of told, and then without getting even too specific for spoilers at the end, it just ends. Like I was legitimately surprised when it ended because I was like kind of pretty lost. Like, I was like, that's like it just abruptly ends, and it made me feel like they didn't film an ending, like that they had more to do, and they just were like, well, apparently to you, they only filmed this movie in 23 days, is the factoid that you gave me before we started. And
Right.
so maybe they had more to film and it just ended. I don't know, but it is really weird. And there's one severely bad part in this movie that made me cringe. And I don't think it's the part that you think I'm going to talk about, where Jeff Daniels is a college professor who has written some books, and he's like, I don't know, kind of famous or not, but he's like just a very full of himself person. He's like not a likable person in this movie. It's like he thinks he's better than everyone and stuff like that, but that's besides the point of what I'm about to say. At one point, he lets a college student woman start living with him because she needs a place to stay, and that woman is Anna Paquin. And at some point, they start making out, and it gets a little sexual. And I had a hard time with that because they were in the movie Fly Away Home together, where they played father-daughter. And I don't know why that's what I was fixated on, but every scene with them just made me go, no, this is wrong. This is wrong.
So,
But that's not the movie's fault. That's just me.
Todd, I read a little nugget about that exact thing. where Jeff Daniels said, "Yeah, we got through it. We just tried not to think about geese."
uh, it was so wrong in my mind. But anyway, back to this boring movie. There are almost like plot, like I said, there's plot points that they kind of hover on that just don't ever get resolved. And I don't want to I don't know, maybe you'll go into some of the specific plot points, but it just it nothing matters to me in this movie. Like nothing. It truly was a waste of my time. Like I don't walk out and be like, huh, like comparing this movie that is about divorce to something like The Marriage Story or A Marriage Story, like where there's character development, there's people learning lessons, there's like all this stuff to a movie, and you like leave watching that movie that's like a 2.5 hour movie, and you leave going, wow, like I feel like I've been on a journey or something like that. There's not any of that with this movie. Like it's just there, and I guess it's someone's interpretation of a real divorce, even though it's like just doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Really I can't think of many ways to just keep saying that I don't like this movie. So I'm just gonna turn it over to you. Maybe you've got some different points on this movie, but I was already. I mean, I before you watched it, I had texted you and was like, "Well, Netflix list let us down again because this movie sucked." So I had pretty much already made up my mind.
True. Yes.
So
Well,
Matt, how did you feel about this movie?
well. Now it's my turn to talk about why I didn't like this movie. Because much like you, I felt that there was a lot to dislike about the movie, and so yeah. So one of my main problems with the movie is that all the characters. It, so I have a hard time when characters in movies don't make me care about them,
Yeah,
and it's like you should feel some kinship with at least one of the characters, whatever. So if that doesn't happen, that's like a negative for me for the movie. This movie made me actively dislike pretty much every character in the movie. Like
I know.
like they were just horrible people. And I get
Yes.
I, I get that, you're trying to communicate something about divorce and like the emotions involved and how you might not act like yourself. I don't buy any of that with these characters. I just think that they were jerks. They were all just weirdo jerks who were horrible to each other for the most.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yep.
and just when we're getting like we're near the end of the movie and there starts to be maybe a hint that maybe there could be some growth on the part of some characters, there might be some redemption of this movie, maybe an enjoyable ending, and then you said it, Todd, it just ends.
It
It's like
just ends.
you had some things that were good that could happen and none of them happened because the movie just ends.
Yeah.
So
Ugh.
yeah,
Yep.
I was happy that they did incorporate a squid fighting a whale in the movie. I like when we get the title in the movie represented. That was like one plus for this movie is uh, the title refers to a squid fighting a whale that's in, I guess, the New York City Museum of Natural History. And one of the characters goes and takes a look at this, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That like yes. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, Matt. And it something that sparked while you were talking was that it like I almost feel like the point of this movie was to like make you feel like, oh well, this could be a real family that goes through a real divorce and stuff, and it just at no point do I think that's true. None of these characters fit in a realm that I believe that they exist. I mean, they probably do because people are people and there's a wide range of people, but like there's a plot point in this movie where the youngest son is drinking all the time, and everyone knows it. Like we're talking like a 12-year-old kid is like drinking all the time, and it's never addressed. It is never addressed, but every character knows about it.
Right.
And then Jesse Eisenberg's character at some point sings a Pink Floyd song to his family and tells them it's his. He wrote it. To which I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. I guess that's maybe narcissistic. I don't know. But like, I can kind of believe that. But then he plays it in a talent show and he wins the talent show by claiming, like on the mic, that this is his song he wrote. And I'm like, no one in that audience knew that this was not his song. Like, it's a famous song. Like, I was like, how did no one know that this wasn't his song? They do eventually find out it's not. But I was like, I just was blown away. Like, it seems like every kind of actual plot device to make these people feel real or human or something is so out there to me that I cannot get behind it. Let alone
Agree.
the younger son's other problem that I'm just gonna save for if someone wants to watch this movie of what this is, because that's unless you want to talk about it, I'm just gonna save it as a surprise to anyone who watches this movie.
Now, I'm happy to just skip over that and not
Okay.
discuss.
Yeah. So in general, I'm gonna recommend that you not watch this movie, but if you're going to, I'm gonna leave a nice surprise for you. So, Matt.
Nice in quotations.
Yes. Uh, Matt, how many tennis rackets, would you give this movie out of 5? Off of
Hmm.
William Baldwin's character, who is Ivan, the tennis instructor, who calls everyone bro after every sentence. It is the only
Yes,
character that I didn't mind when they were on screen.
that's true. All right. So, 0 to 5 tennis rackets. I thought you might go with cashews shoved up your nose for no reason and never referenced until they pop out later. But
Yes, that's true.
uh, tennis rackets is fine.
I forgot about that until you just mentioned it, how stupid that was.
Yes. Um, so I, I'm gonna say I'm gonna give this one one tennis racket out of 5. Um, mainly because they showed a squid fighting a whale. Um, but I don't recommend you see this movie. If you want to see a movie that portrays like really good divorce stuff, then go watch A Marriage Story. It's much better.
Yeah,
Better acted, better story, character growth. All the things this movie doesn't have.
right.
So yeah. So that's where I land. I land at one tennis
Mm.
racket.
Well, I can say that absolutely hating this movie and the fact that I did like seeing us. I mean, it's just a sculpture basically of a squid fighting a whale. Uh, that'll get you a
True.
point three. Point three in my book. So it can't get me to 1, but it'll at least get you to point 3 for me. It's so bad. I was telling you before we started recording that, looking it up on IMDb, I cannot believe that the average rating on IMDb for this movie is 7.3, and it's got like an 82 critic score. Like, those are passing grades, and this whole movie is a fail to me
Yeah.
on every level. So, I don't know. Shows why I really couldn't be a film critic, because I almost feel like these movies are made so that pretentious people can sit around and be like, oh, like, did you see the complexities of this character and, all the dimensions and stuff like that? And I would just be like, no, the movie sucked and that character sucked. Like, and that would be kind of like my short review.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
hate to tell you this, Todd, but you're a real film critic. We have a real podcast, so
oh no, it's
but
on
but
record.
you're still allowed to have your good opinions and not snobbish film critic-y opinions. Well,
Uh,
that's gonna wrap up this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we reviewed the movie The Squid and the Whale, and we gave it an average rating of 0.65 tennis rackets.
oh,
So
mm,
not even a full tennis racket, really, out of 5.
no,
We don't recommend
like,
it.
yeah, you just got like the handle and like part of the neck. You didn't even get to the netted part, really.
Yeah. So
Jeez.
So that will wrap this episode up. Thank you for listening, and we'll have more episodes to come, maybe even from a theater. Maybe
Whoa!
someday it'll happen.
Someday. Da da da
Da
da.
da
Da da
da
da.
da da.